For the last decade, business automation had one giant bottleneck. If your software had a clean API, you could automate it. If it had webhooks, you could connect it. If it worked with Zapier, Make, N8N, or even go high level, you could probably build something useful. But if the tool did not have an API, if it was some ugly vendor portal, some old internal dashboard, maybe a CRM your team has to click through manually, a booking system that does not expose the right data, or a client portal with no clean export, you were basically stuck. And that is exactly why Codex matters so much right now. Because Codex is showing us a different future. A future where the agent does not always need the API, because the agent can use the app itself. It can see the screen, click the buttons, type into the field, open the browser, move between tools, and run work in the background. Doesn't even bother you while it's there. And if this keeps getting more reliable, the question changes. It is no longer just, does this software has an API? The better question becomes, can an agent safely operate this workflow? And that is a massive shift. If you run a business, an agency, consulting, or you do a service for businesses, this is one of the biggest AI automation opportunities most people are still sleeping on. If you don't know me, my name's David Murillo. Since 2018, I've been deep in the world of automation, growth, agencies, and business systems. I've worked with hundreds of agencies, taught thousands of business owners and marketers, and hosted and sponsored more than 20 in-person events in the industry. I was early in the GHL community, and I was lucky to be able to help a ton of agencies build better systems for themselves and for their clients before AI even became a thing. And now everybody's talking about it. And I didn't just teach this stuff. I actually built the business behind it. The education platform, the community, the events, multiple masterminds, the content machine, the sales operating systems, built the team, and the operations behind it that allowed it to run without everything depending on me in the day-to-day. So when I talk about AI agents, automations, even go high level, and business operating systems, I'm not looking at it like a random tool demo. I'm looking at it as someone who has already built real growth systems, real teams, real communities, and real operations. Now AI is making those systems faster, smarter, and more accessible than ever. And that's what this channel is all about. Helping business owners just like you build the next generation of AI-powered business systems. Real quick, before we get into it, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a simple framework I use right now to decide what should be automated with APIs and what should be automated with agents, and what should stay human reviewed. Because if you get that wrong, you're either going to waste a ton of time trying to automate things the hard way, or you're going to trust AI with work it should not be doing by itself yet. And guys, if you're serious about building the next generation of agents in this new AI economy, I highly suggest you jump in my AI community. Comment the word system below and we'll shoot you over all the details and we'll get you plugged right in. All right. So let's get into this. The old world of automation was pretty simple. It wasn't easy, but simple. You had software, you had data, and you had to figure out how to move that data from one place to another. This is why tools like Zapier and N8N and Make were so popular. They still are to this day. So the whole automation conversation became API, webhooks, triggers, actions, connectors, and integrations. And just to be clear, that stuff still matters. APIs are not dead, no matter what the title they put up on there says. Webhooks are not dead. Zapier, Make, N8N, go high level, we're good. Go high level workflows, we're good. Custom backend system, we're good, okay guys? All of that still matters. But here's the problem. Most businesses do not run on clean systems. They run on messy systems. The CRM over here, a spreadsheet over there, a payment processor, a scheduling tool, a client portal, a Slack workspace, and an email inbox, and maybe an old vendor dashboard they use, some software tool the team hates but still uses every day, some random login that only one person knows how to use, and every time you try to automate the business, you hit the same wall over and over again. Does this tool have an API? Does the API expose the actual thing that we need? Is the documentation any good? Can we get access? Can we afford access? Does it support webhooks? Does it connect with our existing stack? Can Go High Level talk to it, or Zapier, or Make, or N8N, any of these? And if the answer is no, the workflow stays manual. People are doing it. Humans, right? That is why so many businesses still have people doing the work that feels ridiculous ridiculous. Logging into a portal, downloading a report, taking a screenshot, checking if a lead showed up in a CRM, copying a value from one screen into another. This is getting ridiculous, right? Now, if you're a business owner or maybe even an agency owner and you're not just trying to learn this stuff, you want help actually implementing it, comment the word audit below. And this is typically for people who already have a real business, real workflows, and real bottlenecks or problems, and real systems that you need fixed. Someone from our team will reach out to you, get you scheduled, and see if it makes sense to do one of our automation audits with you. We can look at your CRM, your sales processes, your automations, your AI opportunities, right? And where your business is leaking time, speed, potentially even revenue. You think even reviewing a pipeline, clicking through missed opportunities, checking if an automation fired, looking at a support ticket, then checking the account, then writing the response. None of that is high value work in the business, right? But it still has to get done. And that is the gap that Codex is starting to step into, because Codex is not just writing code anymore. It is starting to operate the computer. And that is the big category shift. Most people are still looking at Codex like it is a better developer tool, a better CLI or IDE, better than Claude Code maybe. And yes, it can help with the code, it can refactor, debug, do all the coding things, but that is not the biggest business story. The bigger story is that Codex is becoming an agent that can use tools through the interface, and that matters because the interface is where a huge amount of business work actually happens. Think about Go High Level. There are things you can do through the API, and there are things that are just easier to inspect visually inside the accounts. Think about workflow. You can't even create a pipeline through the API. Last time I checked, they may have updated that since this video's out. And think of pipeline stages, calendar settings, you just name it. We got a whole list right here. Now, if you are auditing an account, you're not just moving data through an API. You're looking around, you're checking, you're comparing, you're asking, why did this lead go here? What stopped this automation here? Why did this contact not get tagged? What's going on here? That kind of work is often visual. It lives across screen. And that is where computer use agents get interesting. The screen becomes the automation server. That is the core idea. The screen is becoming the new API. Now, I don't mean that in literally every case. If you have a clean API, use the API, okay? If you need reliable data movement at scale, use the API. If you know how to use it, use it. If you are moving thousands of records, you do not have an AI agent clicking through a dashboard like an intern with a mouse. That is not the point. The point is that APIs are no longer the only path. There is a new layer. API automation, where the system is clean. Computer use automation, where the work lives inside apps and dashboards. And then last but not least, human review, where judgment, risk, or client trust really truly matters. That's the stack now, right? And this is where business owners need to think differently. The opportunity is not just how do I automate more? The better question is, what kind of work is this? Is this clean, repeatable data movement? Is this messy app-based admin? Is this research and writing? Is it maybe judgment-heavy decision making? Or is it something an agent can prepare, but a human should approve? That's how you avoid building fragile nonsense. Let me give you some real examples, okay? Number one, think of a Go High Level account audit, okay? A lot of businesses and agencies have GHL accounts that are a mess, old workload, broken triggers, duplicate contacts, you name it. Conversations that were never followed up, forms that don't actually go anywhere. All right, a traditional automation can help move data in and out, but an agent that can use the interface can potentially inspect the actual account. It can go into workflows, check conditions, look at contacts, compare records, do all the things essentially a human with that same interface can do. That is valuable, not because the AI replaces the operator, but because it speeds up the first pass. Number two, client portal reporting. This is one of the most common forms of invisible, just busy work that can happen in any business. Some vendor gives you a dashboard. There's no useful API, no clean integration. Maybe there's an export, maybe there's not. So every Friday, somebody logs in, clicks around, pulls numbers, takes screenshots, updates a spreadsheet, and sends a report. That is exactly the kind of work that computer use agents are going to attack. The agent can log in, navigate the dashboard, pull the relevant numbers, capture screenshots, everything that needs to be done, and then guess what? A human to check it before it goes out. That's not science fiction. We can do this right now. All right, now number three, sales operation cleanup. Most companies lose money in the handoffs. The lead came in, but was attacked. Did it get assigned? Did the follow-up happen? Did the appointment get booked? You know all this, guys. You find where the leads are leaking, right? A lot of this can be handled through proper CRM architecture, but some of it still requires inspection. And if an agent can inspect the CRM, compare to what happened, and flag what is missing, that becomes a serious advantage for a business. We're going to go over that a little bit more in other videos. That's one of my most favorite topics, but let's jump into example number 4. All right, last example, cross-app administrative work. This is where it starts to get a little more interesting. You have an agent that checks the CRM, reads a support ticket, maybe they check a client portal, look at a spreadsheet, drafts a response, create a reminder, all this little administrative type of tasks. Normally the type of work that gets pushed onto a human assistant, an ops person, maybe even the founder has to clean up and sweep up, after everybody's gone home at night. And if you run a business, you already know what that means. You do not lose all your time on one huge task. You lose it in little fragments. A couple minutes here, 7 minutes here, 12 minutes here, 5 minutes here. I mean, it's endless, right? So that is the work that agents are coming for first. Not the glamorous stuff, not the sexy stuff that we're all seeing on YouTube, right? It's the annoying stuff. The work that lives between the work, between the system, bridging that gap. Now, this is where I want to be careful because there is a dumb version of this conversation. The dumb version is AI agents can run your whole business. No, they cannot right now, okay? At least not safely, not without structure, not without supervision, not without clear boundaries. Computer use is powerful, but it is not magic. The agent can click the wrong thing. It can misunderstand the screen. It can get blocked by a login flow. It can miss context. It can get confused by a pop-up. All the stuff that you would imagine could go wrong could go wrong. So the smart move is not full autonomy. The smart move is supervised delegation. Give the agent bounded tasks. Give it a checklist. Have it produce a report. Make it ask before taking risky actions. Review anything involving money, legal risk, client communication, sensitive data, or public-facing output, or hold off on assigning it anything like that, okay? That is where this becomes useful fast. Not when you give the agent the entire business and hope it figures it out, right? Jesus, take the wheel. No, but when you say, here is the workflow, here are the tools, this is what good looks like, here's an example, this is what you're allowed to do, this is what you're not allowed to do, and here's when you need to stop and ask. That is how a real AI implementation works when you're using computer use with the new Codex. Now, this is the part most business owners are missing. The AI tool is not the strategy. The workflow is the strategy. Codex is interesting because it gives us a new way to execute the workflow, but you still need to know what the workflow is. You still need to know where the risk is. You still need to know what the business outcome is, what should be automated and what should not. That is why this is such a good time for business owners. For business owners, agencies, consultants, people who understand these systems, who've been doing it for years, because the market is about to get flooded with people showing off agents, fancy automations, clicking buttons. That will get views, but the money is going to go to the people who actually know what they're doing. They have the experience. They can look at a business and say, this should be an API automation, or this one should be a computer use agent. This should actually be a human reviewed workflow, and this should not even be automated yet. That is the skill, the ability to identify where AI and automation fits the best. For years, automation was limited by what software companies allowed you to access. You got APIs, webhooks, exports, integrations, connectors now. But now agents are starting to use the same interfaces as human use. So now everything's free game. And that widens the automation map. Not because every software company suddenly built better integration, but because the agent can now use the screen. So if you run a business, your next move is not to ask, what AI tool should I use? That's too vague. Ask this instead. What workflows are still manual because the software was too hard to integrate, or they had it too locked down? It was too big of a pain in the ass. You had to get custom integrations done. That's where the opportunity is right now. OpenClaw cracked open that door, but now computer use with Codex is just in the door wide open. I highly encourage you to take advantage right now. Before you go, if you're serious about building the next generation of AI agents and business automation systems in this new AI economy, comment the word system below and we'll send you the details for my private AI community and get you plugged in. Also, if you're a business owner or even an agency owner and you need help finding and implementing the highest leverage automation opportunities inside your business, comment the word audit and someone from our team will reach out and see if it makes sense to do one of our automation audits with you. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next video.